Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Weber Curry, Manager of Clinical Services at Ascension Counseling Center. You're watching Ascension Counseling Center's video newsletter, where we talk about the services we offer and how you can benefit from them. Thanks for joining us. Coming up in the next episode, you'll hear from Suzanne Hamilton, Director at Ascension Counseling Center. Our topic is loving an addict and loving yourself. We'll talk about the types of addiction and we'll share survival tips with you. So if you or someone you know is in a relationship with an addict, the conversation we have in this episode will hopefully make your life and your relationship with the addict more manageable. Won't you please stay with us for the next half hour or so? Our newsletter begins now. Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. We're joined now by Suzanne Hamilton, Director of Ascension Counseling Center. Hello, Suzanne. How are you today?
Hi, Lisa. I'm doing well, and hello,
Great.
everyone. It's a pleasure to be back with you with another edition of our video newsletter.
Well, great. And today we're going to talk about an important conversation, addiction.
Yes.
It warrants a deep conversation. So let's get started.
It does. And before we get started, I'd like to just have a little conversation about the types of addiction.
Okay.
Normally, people think about the alcohol and drugs. Those are
Right.
the big two that people are addicted to. But I want to expand your idea about what addiction is. It can also include addiction to the internet, addiction to pornography, addiction to gambling,
Right.
food, eating disorders, codependency in relationships, overspending, overshopping,
Right.
anything like that. So any of those behaviors could cause damage to a relationship.
Definitely. And we need to mention this isn't an inclusive list because there are other addictions that come about. For instance, exercise and sex. So there's different addiction to cigarettes, the nicotine in cigarettes.
Yes.
So now that we've identified the types of addiction, and when people are in an addictive relationship, it can be quite a challenge. So let's share with the audience how we can survive addictive relationships and also take care of ourselves in the process.
All right. I'm going to give you 10 survival tips that are going to hopefully make things a little bit better in your relationship. And tip number one is you really have to come face to face with reality. And by that I mean, you have to admit to yourself that you're in a relationship with an addicted person and not keep secrets and lies anymore. And
Right.
what happens is that people will keep the fact that their loved one is addicted a secret from family members, or they'll lie to other people to cover up what their
Right.
behavior is. They'll say, we can't come over because he's sick, when really he's hungover. And so we need to face reality for ourselves.
Okay.
To know for yourself that you admit that you are in a relationship with an addicted person, and then not keep that a secret anymore. Face reality. It's a harsh reality, but it has to be faced honestly.
Right. Do you think that maybe that's the most difficult part of beginning to deal with the fact that you're in a relationship with a person with an addiction? It's just facing that reality. It's finally saying to yourself, yes, this is exactly what this relationship is. That's scary for a lot of people.
It is scary for people because you have to, if you admit that you have that problem, then you're
Right.
admitting to a whole host of problems. And it's part of facing reality is realizing, yes, it really is that bad.
Right.
It really is something that we need to take care of. And so one of the issues about that is that if you're not facing reality, is you're really kind of living an unfulfilled life. Your life is unfulfilled. You're not doing the things that you would like to do that would give you a full and satisfying life. And one of the things to be cautious of is whether you're coping with your loved one's addictions by your own unhealthy behaviors. So are you neglecting yourself? Or are you overeating? Or are you overspending? Or are you distracting yourself with self-harmful behaviors instead of some positive behaviors? So that's something that people need to be aware of whenever you're facing your reality, is that you have to admit that your loved one is addicted. Stop keeping it a secret from yourself and from others, and stop using coping techniques that are unhealthy.
Okay. And so it really takes sitting down and assessing your life, asking yourself the hard questions. Am I fulfilled in my life? What am I avoiding because I'm afraid that people are going to learn that I'm in an addictive relationship with someone who's addicted to illicit substances or otherwise? So it's really sitting down and finally becoming aware.
And we've talked about, you mentioned illicit substances, so it's illegal drugs, but I wanted to mention earlier that it's also prescription drugs you can be addicted to.
That has grown a lot.
That's a reality that people need to face as well.
Exactly.
Just because it's prescribed doesn't mean it's okay that you overtake it and take it to intoxication.
I agree. I think that bears repeating, because so many people think, well, I have a prescription for it and the doctor told me to take it, but are you taking it according to the prescription, or are you abusing it?
Yes.
Because it can be just as harmful as illicit substances.
It can be, yes.
Okay. So we can move on to tip 2. Discover how to love an addicted person and stay healthy.
Well, this one is really about 2 things. One is self-respect, and the other one is your self-care. And you have to have, in order to stay healthy, you have to have self-respect. And self-respect really develops over time. It's not something that comes very quickly. It's something, it's how we treat ourselves, and then it's how we allow other people to treat us. And we may have allowed the addict or other people to treat us in ways that were not respectful to us, that disrespected our time, our energy, our person, our well-being, and we've allowed that to happen. So it's getting self-respect and setting those boundaries is going to take a little bit of time when we haven't done it before.
Right.
And the other aspect of that is the self-care. Really, if you're in a relationship with an addict, you're not taking care of yourself. Most of your time is spent trying to deal with and handle the consequences of what that addict is doing. And so you need self-care in your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual areas if you're going to be healthy.
Right. And I think a lot of people struggle with that, because what you will hear individuals say who are involved in these types of relationship is, well, he made me do it or she made me do it. And what we need individuals to become aware of is nobody can do anything to you without your permission. So that's where it comes in, knowing boundaries, setting them, and respecting yourself, and not accepting that type of treatment from someone else.
You respect yourself when you say no to those things that are harmful to yourself. Yeah. And then it's sort of 2 things. The self-respect is active, but it's setting boundaries of what other people do to you. But self-care is totally 100% active. You have to take steps to take care of yourself in those 4 areas. Again, that's physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual.
Yeah. And I think that comes along with, goes back to tip 1, it's getting rid of the secrets and lies. Because to be able to take care of yourself in those 4 areas, you have to open up about what's happening to you. You have to find someone you can trust and talk about it and kind of bounce your thoughts off that person, because a lot of times if you're in that relationship and you've been there a long time, your judgment, your sense of what's best for you gets clouded.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I've talked about your self-respect developing over time, and really all of these things, everything we're talking about today, we really recognize that it's not easy to do all of this,
Right.
and it's not going to happen immediately. So people need to be gracious to themselves and allow themselves some time. But these are the kind of things that a professional, we at Ascension Counseling Center,
Yes.
can help you through each of these issues if you're having difficulty doing them on your own.
Okay, great. Okay, so tip number 3, you cannot control or fix another person, so just stop trying.
Stop it. You can't do it. You cannot control another person. But I want you to think about in terms of your lifespan when you were a child or a teenager. Are you the person in your family that everybody goes to if they need something cooked, or they need a babysitter, or they need money, or they need time, or they need some place to have the family gathering, or somebody's being mean to them and they want somebody to straighten them out? Are you that person in your family? And most of us can identify if we are that person. And so people who have been the fixer in their family, the glue that holds the family together, all of those terms, often find themselves in a relationship with an addict. And so it kind of goes together. So you need to look at whether or not that's a pattern in your life, something that you've done all of your life, because it's going to make it harder to stop it now if you've been doing it for a long time.
Because it's something you're familiar with, whether you like it or not, doesn't really weigh in. It's that you're comfortable with it, and change is scary, so you stick with that pattern of behavior.
That's a good point, yes. Yeah. And so people find themselves in that pattern, and so they might have to unlearn old behaviors. This is where a good place where we can talk about the serenity prayer, the acceptance, and that is the serenity prayer is, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So if you're a constant fixer, the rescuer in the family, this is really important. Learning what's not yours and what you can't do, and being okay with it. It's the no, and then feeling a sense of relief, not no, and then feeling distress.
Having all the
so
guilt
much distress and guilt that you change your mind
and go back and do what you shouldn't be doing now. Yeah, that's important. And I think everybody has their own journey to take. So sometimes we have to back off and let people go through their journey so that they can get better. As long as we're fixing it, they're not getting better because we're doing the work for them. Okay. And I think the serenity prayer is really great because it can be used in any situation.
Yes, it absolutely can.
Okay, so we'll go to tip number 4, which is stop blaming other people and become willing to look at yourself.
And so we say this as kindly as we can. You can't blame anyone else. You can't blame your addict for your situation. Doing that is a no-win situation, and blaming someone else will just keep you in the victim role. If somebody else is responsible for how you're feeling and how you're behaving and how you're reacting, then you have no control over your well-being and how well you're doing. And so you have to learn how to support yourself. You won't get it from your addict. And stop blaming the addict for not giving it to you, because they're not going to give you
They're
what
not
you
capable,
need. They're not capable
of giving it to you, so you have to take care of yourself.
And so this is a good time for us to talk about being enmeshed. And a lot of people have heard that behavior, enmeshment with somebody else, and what that is. And it's really enmeshment in simple, really relationship terms, is that the addict takes less and less responsibility for having a healthy relationship, and the person in relationship with them takes more and more responsibility. So it ends up being very uneven, and the person in relationship with the addict is giving more and more and more.
Which means you're giving less to yourself. It's less likely that you are taking care of yourself if you're giving more to the relationship.
Yes, you don't have much to give to yourself if you're giving to someone else. They're not giving to themselves. They're waiting for you to give to them. But no one is giving to you.
Exactly. And I think people get comfortable in playing the victim's role, And so, because sometimes when you play the victim role, you get all this outside support. People checking in on you, saying, I feel sorry for you that you're in that relationship. But what you really need is for somebody to say to you, start taking care of yourself. Because things will not get better if you don't start to look at what you can do for yourself.
That's absolutely right. That's a hard message, and we understand that, but it's a true one.
Right. Okay. So you got to learn to set healthier boundaries for yourself.
Healthier boundaries, that's going to increase your self-respect, and really everything, as we've talked about, everything begins with you. What you do for yourself, it just kind of ripples out into, it's like a pebble in water. You know, you have to have your own self-respect, and you have to take care of yourself, and everything will go out from there.
Because if people really start to do that, I think what you will realize is when others see you respecting yourself, they are going to start to respect you. They're going to realize, oh, he or she will not put up with that. So they know that there's boundaries, and I can only do or say so much before she's going to stand up for herself. So,
and we like to think that the people in a relationship with us are going to automatically know what our boundaries are and respect them, but the truth is
unrealistic.
That they don't.
Exactly.
Until we tell them. And so sometimes, it takes saying no. And I encourage you to stand in your bathroom mirror with the light on and practice saying no, because it's that important. But yet we don't. It's so hard for so many people to say.
We weren't raised to say no for most of us.
We were raised to say yes, ma'am, yes, sir.
Exactly. And I think we need to remind our audience as well as when you say no, don't qualify it. Nothing has to be said after that. That makes it a lot easier. Say no and walk away.
Yes. If they say, can you come pick me up? I drank too much and I can't drive home. No. Can you give me some money? No.
Right. And we learn to be comfortable with it, but it takes time. We want to encourage everyone to take your time at it, and as you said before, be gracious with yourself as you're learning to change things.
And don't try to do all of these things. Just pick one thing that you might be able to do today and take one small step and do that.
Right. Because that's what it takes, one step. When you take one step, everything else starts to follow.
That one will become comfortable, and then you take another one.
Okay.
Do that one till that one becomes comfortable.
Exactly. And before you know it, you have changed your pattern of behavior. And I think we need to remind the audience it takes 21 days to change your behavior. So we're unlearning old behaviors, but it has to be replaced with a positive, healthy behavior.
Yes, and your loved one's addiction may have snuck up on you. It may have started out just as, say, social drinking, and then got worse and worse over time. And so, it's not reasonable that you would have, you kind of acclimated yourself to that.
Right.
And so, you have to give yourself time because these problems don't occur overnight, and the solutions don't occur overnight either.
Exactly. Okay, so we'll move on to tip 5. Learn the difference between helping and enabling. That's a big one.
Yeah, that's a big one.
In any relationship.
It doesn't matter if it's with an addict. It could be with anyone. But when we look at enabling, is kind of the same thing as codependent. And enabling and codependence are anything that enables the addict to continue the behavior that they're doing. It's just that simple.
Right.
There's no one definition or no one behavior that's codependent, but it's anything that's going to continue the addictive behavior, such as giving them money or calling in for them at work and telling them that they're sick, or telling your family that you can't come over for Christmas because they're sick. Anything like that, that is enabling behavior. It enables them to continue the behavior with no penalties.
Right. So how can individuals change that? What should they do differently to change it from enabling to I will help you in a healthy way, but I will not enable you?
Yeah, they begin to start setting boundaries, and it's something that you'll have to, it's going to be different for everybody because the person you're in a relationship with is different, and they do different behaviors. So it's looking at those kind of things that you're aware now are going to continue the addiction, write them down and make a list, because when they happen,
Right.
it shouldn't, but it catches us off guard,
Yeah.
and we go back into the normal habit. Sure, I'll come and pick you up. So it's being aware of the behaviors that are going to happen,
Right.
and knowing in advance how you're going to handle them.
Okay. And you can even ask family and friends, because at times they will say to you, I notice you guys miss a lot of events that we have. You say you're coming, and at the last minute you call and you say you can't make it for one reason or another. All those are clues for you to figure out,
Yes.
okay, yeah, something's not quite right here. I need to do some work here.
And so you might decide the next family gathering, I'll go by myself, even if he or she is not able to go.
Right.
And then you do that. You leave them home to take care of themselves, and you go and have a good time with the family.
Which is an excellent way to take care of yourself.
It is.
And if the family has questions about why your significant other isn't there, it's not your place to make up an excuse for them.
No.
You can always invite your family members to call that person and find out why they're not there, because that takes all that responsibility away from you.
Yes.
Okay.
And then, part of that conversation could be, well, he has a hangover this morning and is unable to come.
Right.
And then if they start with, oh, poor you, that's the time to say, no, I'm okay.
It's for
I'm
him.
Here. Yes,
Yeah.
it's for him. Yes.
Exactly. That's a very key point.
So
Okay.
you're not taking that blame or anything on that you don't deserve.
Right.
You push it back.
And you're teaching your friends and family members not to put that blame on you as
Yes.
well. That's setting boundaries,
Yes,
so that's
those
really
are setting
good.
boundaries, yes.
Okay. We talk about tip number 7 just in counseling in general, especially when our clients are lost or really don't know what direction they want to move their lives forward in. So that is, ask yourself the magic question. Some people call it the miracle question.
Yes.
So let's tell the audience about the magic
All right.
question.
The magic question is, how would my life be different if I didn't have this problem? And so this is a way to begin to build your better life. Sometimes people will say, if I didn't have this problem, what would be the first thing I would notice when I wake up in the morning? And that would be a way to begin to look at how
Right.
would things be different. But, how would my life be better if I wasn't consumed with this issue? What would I have time for if I wasn't constantly focused on the addict? So those are the questions to ask yourself, and to begin, again, make a list of how would your life be better? What would you be doing for yourself if this wasn't in place? And begin to make a list, and those are the things to begin to concentrate on.
Taking one at a time and doing it. And I think this is scary for a lot of individuals, because when they first start to write down what would my life be like if I wasn't in this situation or problem, they draw a blank, because for so long all they have known is, how do I care for my addicted significant other? So they don't really see any other possibilities. So we would encourage them to stick with it. If every day you go back to this question until you're able to put something down on paper.
Yes.
Don't give up on yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
And again, even if you don't have goals for good self-care, you can't even imagine what that is, a good life or good self-care. Again, that's something that we can help you with at the Counseling
Right.
Center. We help people establish goals, and kind of, we talk about that as being your true self, your authentic
Right.
self. You've had to bury that for so long to remain in the relationship. You almost have lost touch with yourself, who you are, and
Yes.
what you like, and what movies you like, and what hobbies you like.
And what time you would like to do these things.
Yes.
Because everything has been around the addict's behavior, trying to hide it. So now you have to rediscover that.
Yes.
And that's what we do in counseling.
Yes.
We help you rediscover that.
Yeah.
Okay. So tip number 8 says, know that self-care does not equal selfish. So many people get those two confused.
Yes, and if we go back to, you being the family rescuer, the family that the person who tried to fix everybody
Right.
and all of those things, you feel like you're going to be selfish if you try to do these things that we're talking about. But really, selfish, you can kind of think about that as being a people pleaser. So if, so trying to please other people all the time instead of yourself. And there's a people pleasers that think, I must never hurt in another person's feelings. And that's kind of what they think. I have to help everybody. I have to fix everybody. I have to do these things. I can't hurt their feelings. I can't say no to them. That would be selfish. But it's really not. It's self-care. So there's a difference between selfish and self-care. And so we want you to focus on the self-care, and that attitude is, although I care about another person's feelings, the way I feel about myself is most important to me. And so that's a better, more healthy way of thinking.
Yeah, if people can phrase it that way in their minds, they're likely to follow it and, engage in self-care. I think a lot of this goes back to how most of us were raised once again. If you're raised in a large family or even a small family, you're always taught, let's take care of each other, let's take care of each other. You aren't really taught, well, take care of yourself. Because what I try and remind clients about is if you keep giving and giving and giving, eventually your well goes dry. And then you become resentful, you become angry, and it really makes it hard for you to make the changes that you need to make. So self-care is really important.
It is. And what we're talking about in terms of the self-care, and you've mentioned, we were kind of raised to be a certain way, reciprocal in relationships and give and take in relationships. What we learned about that as a child works when you're in a relationship with another regular person. But when you're in a relationship with an addict, all those rules go out the window. This is not the same. It is, you cannot treat them the same. It's not going to be the same. It's not the golden rule, do unto others and all that. It's really about setting healthy boundaries.
Yeah, it's self-preservation, because the addict isn't thinking about that. They are not engaging in a relationship with you from a healthy standpoint. So you can't have those expectations of the addict. And the more you have those expectations, they're unrealistic, the more you're disappointed.
Yes.
So.
And you'll continue to be disappointed because nothing will change until you change it.
Which is so important, yes. Okay, so let's learn self-care, not selfishness. Learn to take care of ourselves. That's really important. And so we've gotten all these steps and tips in place. So now we're looking at a different life. So we're working on rebuilding our lives now.
Yes, we're working on rebuilding. And so, the acceptance, the serenity, the boundary setting, and you're beginning to look now at what do you want your life to be like. Once you get the boundaries and those being able to say no in place, it frees you up to have time for yourself. And energy for yourself, and money for yourself, and beginning to develop physically. Even if physical could just be something as simple as you go get a manicure. You do something for yourself and rebuild your life.
And that's so important, rebuilding our lives, as you say, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Because for so long, I think people in relationships with addicts don't ever think about, I've stopped doing all those things. I don't go to the spa because I'm afraid to leave my significant other in the home. I don't know if I'm going to come back home and all my belongings will be gone so that they can get their next fix. So I think it's so great when they finally realize I'm rebuilding my life, I can step out, I can do things on my own. And they finally hit that point where they say, which I like what you have in here, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yes. So. Nothing changes if nothing changes.
And people have asked, because I use that a lot, what do you mean? And I'll say, stop and think about it a second. It's basically, if you don't do anything to change anything, your existence will remain the same. So you're responsible for making that change.
Yes. And you at home, you can sit and continue doing what you're doing and hope that they'll get some insight or some awareness, or that they'll love you enough to change. They cannot. They won't do it. It really comes from you.
Yeah. And then the final tip you have is don't wait until the situation is really bad. Reach out now.
Yes, so how bad is really bad? You know, the term hitting rock bottom, you know, but you don't have to get to rock bottom. You can tell that things are already going in a bad direction and stop it as soon as you can.
Right.
Understand that, you know, even if they're starting to drink, they were just drinking socially, now they're drinking every night at home by themselves. Right. Begin to start all of these things we've talked about. Don't wait till it gets really bad. It doesn't have to be really bad. And you do have some options. You can come to Ascension Counseling Center. You can go to Al-Anon. There are a lot of different options for you to go to meet with people who've been through the same thing and can give you some advice about what to do to maybe prevent the situation from progressing any further. No matter what stage it's at, you can stop it and turn it around. Just, and remember this, you know, your secrets are going to keep you sick. So if you keep these as a secret about how bad it is or what's going on, you're never going to get better. It's just going to keep you sick. It's going to keep your relationship sick, and it'll keep your loved one sick.
Exactly. I think we have to move away from the old adage that would always say, what goes on in a family stays in a family.
Yes.
That's how we don't get healthy and we don't get well. So we need to talk to someone, and we can talk to someone confidentially, like at Ascension Counseling Center. Come there, get the help you need. Your information remains private and confidential. I think one of the other things we need to point out that isn't necessarily a part of the tip is the fact that you always have the option not to remain in that relationship. If it is detrimental to your overall well-being, you're not getting healthier, you feel like you are just locked into this and there's no way out other than to leave the relationship, you always have that choice to leave the relationship.
Yes, and that could be part of setting your healthy boundaries. You might say, if Uncle Adam comes to the Christmas party, he always gets drunk. I don't want my children exposed to that.
Right.
So we're going to come to the Christmas party, but we're going to leave as soon as he becomes intoxicated.
Exactly.
And so those kind of things, you can set boundaries with those relationships.
Right. And that's so important. Once again, it goes back to self-care. And if we're healthy, we are going to engage in healthy relationships, and it becomes a win-win situation again. Yes. Okay, well, thanks again, Suzanne. This was a really, really interesting topic, and I know it will benefit a lot of people.
A lot of people are in this situation, and it's difficult. It's a roller coaster of emotions, and it takes a toll physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, and financially on families.
Definitely.
And so it's something serious that we really needed to talk about.
Right. And remember, we're here to help. We can definitely help anybody out in that situation. So again, thank you so much for being here. And thanks to you, our viewers, for spending your time with us for this episode of Ascension Counseling Center's video newsletter. You can catch replays of the program exclusively on Ascension 21 on the days and times listed on your screen, or anytime on Ascension 21's YouTube channel. We hope today's information will help change your life for the better. That's our goal at Ascension Counseling Center, for our programs to help change lives. Remember, Ascension Counseling Center is here by way of your support. We're funded by a 2-mil property tax millage, which means that $2 from every $1,000 you pay in taxes goes to support our agency, so we can provide free and low-cost mental health and substance abuse outpatient services to residents of Ascension. We're located in Gonzales at 1112 Southeast Ascension Complex off Worthy Road and across from the courthouse and next to the health unit. You can reach us by calling 225-450-1016. You can also find us on the web at www.ascensionparish.net/MH, and on Facebook at Ascension Counseling Center. Thanks for your support, and until next time, from everyone at Ascension Counseling Center, thank you for watching.
Ascension Parish, a parish steeped in tradition. It's a place where generations of families have continued to enjoy a lifestyle that centers on community living and community celebration. It's a place where we care about each other and we care about ourselves. For more than 50 years, the Ascension Counseling Center has continued the tradition of helping individuals and families change behaviors and change lives. The Ascension Counseling Center.